Hello, David here, and today I'm going to do a study of the Glock Generation 4, particularly this Model 26. In my last video I did a polish of the trigger group on this Model 26, and I was a little surprised that the reading I was getting on the trigger was about 8 pounds, 8.5 pounds. The trigger was smooth, the polish helped that, but this is a 5.5 pound connector, and I thought it would do better. I did do a couple more trials. Let's do a safety check. And pistol's now loaded. I'm really averaging closer to 6.5 pounds. Try it again. That one was 7 3/4. Okay, what's going on here? Funny, when the camera is off, I'm getting 6.5 pounds. Seven 3/4. Camera's making me a liar. That's about 6 3/4. Do it one more time. That's 6.5. Anyway, after I did the video, I did some research on the internet, and I found that there's been a lot of controversy on the internet about these Model 4s. People have been complaining about heavy triggers, and I've come to learn that there was a bump put on the trigger bar that the engineers used to center the striker safety. I don't know if you can see it in there. Probably not enough light getting down in there. See if I can move my light. There we go. See that that round safety on the left? And you can see the trigger bar is not centered on there, it's lower. See if I can move the camera so I can actually work it for you. Hold on a minute. Okay, I think we got it. Trigger's cocked. Here comes the trigger bar across the striker safety. See it? Right. That round item. Right there. That's a striker safety. That's a trigger bar right there. Let's do it one more time. So the Glock engineers put a bump on the trigger bar to keep... Sorry about that, the floodlight overheated the camera and the camera stopped. But the purpose of that bump on the trigger bar was to keep the trigger bar from missing the striker safety button. I'm going to open it up and we'll take a look at it. Let me field strip this. Here you see the slide. The striker cannot be fired until this button is pressed down. That's one of the safety features. And the thing that pushes that button down is this cam right here. on the trigger bar. When you pull the trigger back, this goes back and it pushes that button up. So you see that bump on here? That bump supposedly rides against the side of the slide, and that's what a lot of people are complaining about. They're saying there's friction from this riding against the slide. And also in this part of the trigger group in the back, some people are saying that the angle has increased on the connector, and that's causing it to be a little bit heavy too. So I want to do a little experiment today. I have here a trigger bar from a Gen 3 Glock, and it's been polished. I'm going to put this in and see if that changes the trigger pull, along with keeping the 5.5 pound connector. I've heard that the Gen 4 Glocks have a different design on the back end here, and they're not interchangeable with the Gen 3 Glocks, but I'm not sure about that. I might experiment with that as well. Okay, I've got the Gen 3 trigger bar in the frame. Put the slide on. Take a measurement of the trigger pull. I think I'm on the, got the safety employed or deployed. Try it again. About 6 3/4. Let's try it again. That's a little less than between 6 1/4 and 6 1/2. It's over 8. Six 1/4. Six. Six 1/2. I think if there's any difference, it's negligible. Let's add a 3.5 pound connector to the mix. Here's my Glock Model 27. This has got a polished trigger plus the 3.5 pound connector, which should give it about a 4.5 pound pull. Let's try that. Six pounds should be about 5.5. I've been consistently getting 5.5 pound pulls on that. Okay, that's 4.5 pound. Five 1/4. 4.5. Between 5 1/4 and 5.5. Let me take this connector out and I'll put it in the Gen 4. Before I do that, I wanted to look at the workings of the Gen 4 with the Gen 3 trigger bar. Is the trigger bar falling off of the striker safety? Let's try it. No, it doesn't seem to have moved much at all. Seems to be in the same place it was with the Gen 4 trigger bar. Here is the 5.5 pound trigger, or 5.5 pound connector with the 3.5 pound connector. If you could get a difference on the angle on that. Get a focus. Focus, please. There we go. The one on the right is a 3.5 pound. You can see the angle on this top part. Right there and right there. A little bit different. Not sure about these things. I don't know if these things have the right angle too. I don't know if there's any change in that. You know, they look a little different to me too. So if we get them right over one another. Different? I can't tell. Anyway, let me swap it out. Okay, I got the 3.5 pound connector with the Gen 3 trigger bar and the Gen 4 G26. Let's check the reset with the 3.5 pound connector, if you can feel a reset. Yeah, there's still an audible and a tactile reset. Let's check the trigger. A little over 5 pounds, maybe 5 1/4. Five 3/4. Four 3/4. Liking it better. Just under 5. Just over 5, 5 1/4. Okay, let's keep the 3.5 pound connector in, but let's put in the Gen 4 trigger bar. Before I do that, I want one more thing to check. Here's the Gen 3 trigger assembly compared to the Gen 4 trigger assembly. Notice the Gen 4 trigger assembly is wider at the bottom. If the angle's changed on the connector, I certainly cannot tell. Let's see if the Gen 3 will fit in here. I'm not going to force it, but it won't go in all the way. So the Gen 3 trigger assembly, the rearward part anyway, won't fit in a Gen 4 frame. So there's a Gen 4 trigger assembly and the Gen 4 frame. Got the Gen 4 transfer bar with a 3.5 pound connector. Okay, got the 3.5 pound connector and the Gen 4 with the Gen 4 trigger bar. See what we got on the trigger. Move over 5. Right on 5. About 4 3/4. Four and 3/4. Five. To sum it up, I think the 3.5 pound connector makes the biggest difference. The transfer bar, I don't know about that. You guys that are filing down the nub off your transfer bar, I just don't know if it's worth it. Also, I think if you're going to work on your own pistol, you have to take responsibility for any malfunctions that you might be having. Okay, the G26 is back to its original configuration. See where it's at on the trigger pull gauge, just for the heck of it. I notice I'm getting lower readings when I hold the gauge right on the tip of the trigger. £6. Five and 3/4. Six and 1/4. Six. And 6. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hey, do you want to see some bonus footage? I got this Glock Model 27 Generation 4 that came in from Center Fire Systems. This is a Kentucky State Patrol pistol. And I could barely see the logo on the top. It's very faint. I didn't think it was there when I first got it, but under the floodlight I could definitely see it. I was going to do a 25-cent trigger job on this one. Let's see where we're at on here. About 5 3/4. £5. That's pretty light if it's got a 5.5 pound connector in there. Hair over 5 pounds. 5 1/4. About 5 3/4. £5. See why this thing is so light. I wonder if it's got a different connector in there. It's got the Gen 4 trigger bar. No one's polished it. I think I'll polish it. This would be really shiny here if this was polished. Wow. Looks like it's got the copper Antiseize lubrication in there. I wonder how much this thing has been fired. Yeah, definitely has the copper Antiseize in there. I don't think this thing's been fired that much at all. Nice find. Okay, let me polish it up and see if there's any change in the trigger pull. Hey, check out the ejector on this Gen 4 G27. It actually has a twist built into it. Can you see that? Not that experienced with Glocks, but I've never seen a twist like that. Just interesting. Just polished up the trigger control group on the Gen 4 Model 27. If we could see any difference here. Five 3/4. Five 1/2. Five 1/2. That was a 5. Five 1/4. About 5 1/2. Five. Let's try it with the 3 1/2 pound connector. Okay, I got the 3 1/2 pound connector in, and of course it's the Gen 4 trigger group that originally came with it. Let's see how the trigger is. Four 4.5 pounds. Almost 5 pounds. About 4 3/4 pounds. Four 3/4 pounds. Kind of like the trigger the way it is. I think I'll leave this in here Put the 5.5 pound connector in the Gen 3 Glock 27. Feels nice. Thanks for watching.